Part 1. Questions 1 to 8. Directions. In this part, you will hear 8 short announcements, or instructions. There is one question for each announcement or instruction. For each question, choose the right answer, A, B, C or D. Then, on the answer sheet, find the number of the question and fill in the space that corresponds to the letter of the answer that you have chosen. Now, let's listen to an example. On the recording, you will hear:
Hello. This is the travel agency returning your call. You left a message about the holiday you've booked, asking which meals are included in the cost during your stay at Sunny Hotel. Lunch and dinner are free, but if you wish to have breakfast in the hotel, you will need to pay an extra amount of money, depending on what you order. Let me know if I can help you with any other information. Goodbye.
On the test book, you will read, which meal is not included in the price of the holiday. A. Breakfast. B. Lunch. C. Dinner. D. All. The correct answer is A. Breakfast. Now, let's begin with the first question. First, you'll have some time to read the questions 1 to 8. Question 1.
First, I want to inform you of the good news that we have doubled our sales over the last 6 months. Yes, we have more than fulfilled our growth target, and it is with great pleasure that I congratulate you for your effort and the care you have taken in making this happen. In order to recognize this achievement and your performance, we have decided to invite all employees and their families to a special thank you buffet lunch at the Criterion Hotel. Please join us this Saturday for some excellent food and wine. I hope to see you all there.
Question 2.
It was reported in the business news column today that Susan Bartlett, CEO of Tasty Foods, will leave her position at the end of December. It is well known that the success of Tasty Foods' expansion into Asia was due to Ms. Bartlett's personal dynamism and commitment. A committee, which includes Ms. Bartlett, who will remain with the company as a consultant, is currently searching for the next CEO.
Question 3.
I'd like to welcome you all to the annual Golf Championship, and I hope that you enjoy the week you will be spending with us. I would like to remind you that, due to security arrangements, it is essential to have your press identification cards with you at all times. If you forget your card, you will not be allowed to enter any press area. Press conferences will be held at the end of play every day. All reporters will be able to question the selected competitors in the press room. Please indicate that you have a question by raising your hand. A tournament official will pass you a microphone when it is your turn, and please ensure that your mobile phones are off during question sessions.
Question 4.
We would like all employees to note that our management has decided to expand the snack bar into a full lunchroom service. There will be several hot main courses, salads, desserts, and hot and cold drinks on offer every day. Prices will be kept to a minimum. We trust that our employees will not only enjoy the food and atmosphere, but also the convenience of having healthy and tasty meals available in the building. A daily menu will be posted on the notice board in the staff room. We hope that you will appreciate this expansion of our services to our valued employees.
Question 5.
I'm Jack Thompson, presenting another edition of Tips for Your Trip. Christmas time is here again, so it's important for all of you making that long drive home to be extra careful on the road. So listen carefully. Firstly, there will be many tired and stressed drivers on the road, so you will need to be extra careful. Secondly, try to share the driving with a friend or relative or two if possible. That way, there will always be someone who can take over the steering wheel when you're tired. Thirdly, take a break when you start to notice the effects of drowsiness, drifting, blurry vision, and yawning. And finally, remember that drinking a lot of coffee can only help you fight drowsiness for a short time. Learn to recognize the signs of sleepiness and stop. Have a good sleep. Don't drive after midnight if you can possibly avoid it. That's all, but please listen again next week for more tips for your trip.
Question 6.
Welcome all of you, and thank you for making the effort to come so promptly. As all of you know, we have to move out of this building by the end of the month because the owner is asking too much money for rent. And you also know how difficult it is to rent a place in this city at an affordable price. The head chef and I have spent a lot of time trying to find premises that are both in the right location and have the character we need to maintain the tradition of our restaurant. Well, you'll be happy to hear that we've found the ideal location. After weeks of fruitless searching, we heard of a first-floor site which was originally a French restaurant near the local theater. We contacted the agents immediately and inspected the site. It's great, and we've signed a 3-year contract. So let's get busy. We have a lot of work to do. Thanks again for your commitment.
Question 7.
Hello everybody, I'm Wendy Ryanford, and I'd like to welcome you to our company's orientation program. Firstly, let me tell you about the schedule for this week's training. One of our personnel officers, Tim O'Brien, will hand out envelopes containing some forms for you as well as company information. We'll look over the forms together and then you can fill them out. This will be followed by a tea break and a chance to talk informally with members of the personnel staff. At 11 a.m., we will break into 3 groups for a tour of the production facilities with our volunteer guides who are keen to meet you. This will be followed by lunch at 12:30. You will then have free time to visit the grounds before the start of the afternoon program at 1:30 p.m. This will begin with a company promotional and training video lasting 1 hour.
Question 8.
Good morning. As I'm sure you are aware, the Gallery's Management Committee has requested an engineering survey of the site and its facilities. The aim of this survey is twofold. First, to find remedies for certain serious problems which have resulted in damage to the building and parts of the collection. Secondly, to consider how the facilities can be improved. I have to report to you that the structure of the building requires immediate attention. Neglect has resulted in serious damage. I know that the necessary renovations will be expensive and funding is a problem. But my consultants are certain that, if we act now, far more serious and expensive repairs can be avoided.
That is the end of part 1. Part 2. Questions 9 to 20. In this part, you will hear 3 conversations. The conversations will not be repeated. There are 4 questions for each conversation. For each question, choose the correct answer. A, B, C, or D. Questions 9 to 12 refer to the following conversation. First, take some time to read the questions 9 to 12.
Listen to a conversation between two students.
John, have you chosen a physical education class yet for this semester?
No, why?
You've got to take rock climbing. We just had the first class, and it looks like it's going to be great.
You think I should take rock climbing? You've got to be kidding. Besides, how can they teach rock climbing when it's completely flat around here?
That's not important. You can't just start climbing without any training. You have to get in shape, learn how to use the ropes, the belts, the buckles. There's a lot of preparation first.
You don't think it's just a little bit dangerous?
Not if you know how to use the safety equipment, which is, by the way, pretty high tech. The ropes are made of elastic fibers that stretch a little. The shoes have special grips on the bottom, and the helmets are made out of some kind of special plastic. You have to learn how to use all this before you do any real climbing.
Well, what's the appeal? We'll spend the whole semester studying something we don't actually get to do.
We will take a climbing trip during spring break, but that's not the point. Climbing isn't the only goal. In preparing to climb, you learn patience, mental discipline, and you gain fantastic physical strength, especially in your hands. For the first few weeks, we're going to concentrate entirely on hand and upper body exercises.
All that in one sport? Maybe you're right. Since it's not too late to join the class, maybe I will.
Questions 13 to 16 refer to the following conversation. First, take some time to read the questions 13 to 16.
Listen to a conversation.
Hello.
Hi, Sally. This is Phil.
Great to hear from you, Phil. How have you been doing?
To tell you the truth, I'm very worried about our final examinations next month. For one thing, I can't sleep.
I sympathize. I went through the same thing last year.
That's exactly why I'm calling you. Do you have any suggestions for coping with anxiety? You know how I hate exams.
Well, last year the university offered a stress management course at about this time. Have you been in contact with the student health services?
No, I haven't had time.
Funny, isn't it? Just when students need help most, we can't afford the time to get it.
Well, perhaps I should find out more about this stress management course. Things have got to get better.
I suggest you call the health services tomorrow. They open at 9 a.m.
Thanks, Sally. I'll let you know how it goes.
Best of luck, and have a good night's sleep.
That's easier said than done.
Questions 17 to 20 refer to the following conversation. First, take some time to read the questions 17 to 20.
Listen to a conversation between two students in the campus dining hall.
I haven't seen you here for a couple weeks. Have you stopped eating or something?
No, does it look like I've stopped eating? I've been spending a lot of time in the library.
Working on a paper?
I wish I was working on a paper. I'm working on 3 different papers: anthropology, English Lit, and history.
Wow, that is a lot of work.
Yeah, and what's frustrating is that I'm studying the 19th century British Empire in all 3 classes, but I can't just write a single paper for all 3.
Why not?
The professors won't let me, even if I make it 3 times as long as the suggested length.
Oh, that's too bad. Could you write your papers on 3 aspects of one topic?
What do you mean? Do you have something in mind?
Well, let's see. Maybe you could do something with romanticism, like, write your anthropology paper on the cultural basis of romanticism, and, your history paper on the influence of the romantic poets on British foreign policy, and your English paper on an analysis of some romantic poems.
Hey, that's not a bad idea. I've already started the research for one of the papers, so I can use that. What can I do to repay you?
You want to write up my chemistry lab for me?
I'd love to, but I've never taken chemistry, so I'm not sure you'd like the results.
Oh, well, no thanks necessary then. Have a good weekend, and try to get out of the library and get some sleep. You have big circles under your eyes.
Okay, I'll try. See you later.
That is the end of Part 2. Part 3. Questions 21 to 35. In this part, you will hear 3 talks, lectures or conversations. The talks, lectures or conversations will not be repeated. There are 5 questions for each talk, lecture or conversation. For each question, choose the right answer. A, B, C or D. First, take some time to read the questions 21 to 25.
Listen to part of a talk by a resident advisor in a dormitory for first-year college students.
I need to make sure you understand how to get housing for next year. When you entered as first-year students this year, the school assigned you to a dorm and a roommate. But next year, as returning students, you'll choose both your roommate and your dorm. But whether or not you actually get to live in your first choice depends on what number you or your roommate draws in the lottery system. The system gives priority to the students who have been here longest. Fourth-year students get the first block of numbers. Third years get the second block, and second years, like you'll be, get the third. The lower the number you draw, the sooner you choose. Number 1 gets the first choice. Number 2 gets the second choice, and so on. You can use either your own or your intended roommate's number to make your room choice. If your roommate for next year has been at the school longer than you have, they'll be in a better block of numbers, and so will have a better number than any second-year student. But most of you will probably be rooming with other second-year students, and so neither of you may have a great number. You may not get into your first or even second choice. Of course, if you've made plans to live off campus, you don't need to enter the lottery at all. Dorm space will be especially tight this year because the dorms on North Campus will be closed for renovations. This means that those of you who draw the worst numbers won't be able to get dorm housing at all. In that case, the housing office will help you find off-campus housing.
Take some time to read the questions 26 to 30.
Listen to a guest speaker being introduced to a local business group.
Thank you all for coming out this evening to meet sociologist Ellen Lambert. Ms. Lambert specializes in research on the workplace and recently has been writing about the future of work. This topic should be of special interest since I know many of you are already at the forefront of workplace technology. For example, let's have a show of hands to see how many people here telecommute at least part of the time. I see 8 hands raised. Well, you 8 folks who work at home and communicate with your office via computer represent one of the trends Ms. Lambert has described, that people are becoming less tied to the workplace. One of the important tools for telecommuting is electronic mail or email. Email lets you send and receive messages almost immediately on your computer, but you control when you read them and when you respond to them. This technology allows people to have more control over time than when relying solely on the telephone. Our guest tonight will discuss how these important changes will alter the way we work. But before turning the floor over to Ms. Lambert, I would just like to remind you that she'll be available to answer any individual questions at the reception immediately following this talk.
Take some time to read the questions 31 to 35.
Listen to part of a lecture from an arts class. Hello again. Ahem. Well, we're near the end of our unit on newspapers. I'm going to talk about our national paper, USA Today. Some of you might recognize it as the topic of this week's reading assignment. USA Today, is now more than 25 years old. When it began, few expected it would last this long. Well, not only has it lasted, it has thrived. USA Today is the largest selling daily newspaper in America. It is also distributed in many countries around the world, but that's only part of the story. The real success of USA Today is the way it changed the newspaper industry. USA Today changed the way papers look. It changed the way reporters write. And it changed the way papers gather and deliver news. USA Today set out to be different. Newspapers at the time were, in trouble. Fewer people were reading them. The papers were full of bad news about crime and killing. They had long stories. They didn't have color photos and graphics. And many could not include the latest sports scores. USA Today changed all that. It had shorter stories, most of which did not jump or continue from one page to another. It used color photos and colorful charts and graphics. It did not have much international news, but it did have lots of sports, entertainment, and human interest stories. It was trying to appeal to younger readers. These readers had been raised watching television, so they had trouble paying attention to longer stories. They wanted to be entertained, not informed. At first, many people laughed at USA Today. Other newspapers called it McPaper. They were comparing it to McDonald's fast food, which isn't very healthy. It fills you up, but it doesn't have much nutrition. They said McPaper was the same way. It looked good, but the news it had wasn't very important. People said USA Today dumbed down the news. Does anyone know what dumbed down means?
Yeah, I think it means to make things too simple, Like, you want to make it easy to understand, but you make it too easy. So it's like writing for a little child.
That's exactly right. If you make something too simple, people get mad. They think that the writer thinks they're stupid. But a funny thing happened. More and more people started reading USA Today. About a year after it started, it had a circulation of more than 1 million. Today, its circulation is past 2 million. Question.
Yo, what does circulation mean?
Circulation is the number of papers that are read each day. It means that USA Today distributes more than 2 million copies of each issue. When other papers saw this circulation grow, they became worried. So, they started to, copy USA Today's style. Their stories got shorter, and they started using lots of color photos and charts. They replaced quote-unquote serious news with feature stories. Soon it became normal for newspapers to look like USA Today. But it wasn't only appearance that made USA Today so popular. One very big reason for its success was timeliness. Timeliness means its ability to report the latest news. Daily newspapers have a deadline, which is the time they have to stop writing and start printing the paper. The deadline often caused papers to leave out news. This was especially true of East Coast papers and West Coast sports scores. Basketball, football, and baseball games would end on the West Coast at 11 p.m., but that's 2 p.m. Eastern Time. This was too late to put the score of the game in the next day's paper. USA Today, however, used satellites to transmit news. It could set later deadlines, so it could include the West Coast scores. This alone caused many people to buy the paper. Yes.
But today, most papers use satellites. So why has USA Today's circulation kept growing?
Excellent question. Actually, USA Today has changed. It still looks colorful, but it started to become more like traditional papers. Its stories are getting longer, and it has more international news. It changed because people are changing. The paper needed to appeal to more, educated readers because they're the ones with money. Also, it needed to sell more papers overseas. International readers don't want dumbed-down news.
This is the end of the listening paper. Now, you have 5 minutes to transfer your answers to your answer sheet.